Hello, I'm here to tell you all a story about the highway rat. This is how you would sign his name. I hope you enjoy watching. Today, I will be the highway rat, who wears a large feather hat, a mask tied around his face, and a thick black cape. He also has boots that fold at the top, complete with a long, sharp sword. One day, he was strolling down the road with his horse. This horse of his had fur around his hooves, had a very long snout, and liked to snap his teeth together. The highway rat jumped onto his horse and began riding along the winding roads and down the highway, announcing, "This is my highway." But then he saw someone. Who could it be? He rode up to them and stopped. It was a rabbit wearing a backpack with pointy ears and a headscarf. She gasped. For blocking her way was the highway rat, pointing his long sword at her. "I am the highway rat," he announced. He jumped off his horse and then he said, "What's that? I want some food." "I haven't got any food," the rabbit replied. "Hand it over," ordered the highway rat. The rabbit took off her backpack and slowly unzipped her bag. The highway rat still had his sword pointed to her. Reluctantly, she pulled out a bunch of clover. "This clover is as dull as can be, but I am the rat of the highway, and this clover belongs to me." So he put the clover into his bag and jumped back onto his horse and rode away, shouting goodbye. The rabbit felt deflated and sad. She had nothing left. Then he saw someone. But who could it be? It was a squirrel with pointy ears and a bushy tail, pushing a wheelbarrow with something inside. What could it be? He rode up to the squirrel and startled him. "Ah!" "Come on, what's that?" he asked, with his sword pointed towards the squirrel. He jumped off his horse and announced, "I am the highway rat." "Hand it over," ordered the highway rat. The squirrel uncovered his sack and pulled out a bag of nuts. "These nuts are as hard as can be, but I am the rat of the highway, and these nuts belong to me." So he jumped back on his horse and rode away, shouting goodbye. The squirrel looked sad and walked away. Then he saw someone. But who could it be? It was an army of ants crawling along. He rode up to them, and the ants nervously looked to him. He jumped off his horse and pointed his sword to them. The ants cowered. "I am the highway rat," announced the rat. The ants cowered again. "Do you have any food?" he asked. "No," the ants replied. The highway rat took a nice green leaf from them. "This leaf is as thin as can be, but I am the rat of the highway, and this leaf belongs to me." The highway rat jumped back on his horse and rode on. He rode down the highway, stealing from anyone he met. He even saw a fox and stole a food parcel from him. The highway rat pinched and thieved from everyone and anyone who travelled the highway. He even once stole his own horse's hair. The highway rat was mean and the highway rat was cruel. He stole and stole until his saddlebag was full. All of the other animals, however, including the fox, were hungry and starving. All of their food was gone, and they grew thinner and thinner and thinner. But the highway rat, however, he was happy, and he grew horribly fat from eating up everyone's dinner. He said. But the other creatures just looked in disbelief. The highway rat continued on his journey. Then he saw someone. But who could it be? It was a duck waddling along with her headscarf on. "Ah!" she cried. He held his sword to her. "I am the highway rat." Ooh, she cowered. The highway rat jumped off his horse and held his sword even closer to her. The duck panicked. I have a sister, cried the duck. A sister? A sister, yes, in her deep, dark cave, right on top of the hill. You can see it just there. And just to let you know, she has donuts and cakes and chocolates and lots of other goodies. Would you like to come and see? There's lots of yummy food. The highway rat thought about it for a moment. Come and see my sister, said the duck. Lead on, cried the rat, and they took to the road, which seemed like it would never end, onwards and upwards, bend after bend after bend. At last they came to a dark, lonely cave. My sister's in there, quacked the duck. She's in there. She has everything you could think of to eat. Come and see. The highway rat held up his sword as he neared the cave. But the horse panicked and would not go into the cave. The duck tapped the horse and they both looked at each other. With a little wink, the duck said, "Shh." The horse understood. Go on in and see my sister, the duck said again. The highway rat leapt off his horse and into the cave he strode, making his way through the darkness. The little duck then hurriedly took hold of the horse's reins and galloped down the road, faster and ever faster, following all the bends, whilst the highway rat continued his journey in the deep, dark cave. The duck went galloping down the highway back to her hungry friends. All the animals were there, and they shared out all of the food from the saddlebags and feasted all night long. They all celebrated, and bright were the flames of the bonfire. But as for the rat in the echoey cave, he began to wonder. Where's all the food? The donuts, the chocolate, the cake? The highway rat was confused. He continued to wander till he found his way out of the darkness. And he found himself on the other side of the hill, and he began to think about his evil ways. Whilst all of the other animals were celebrating and they were finally happy, the highway rat felt sad. He decided he was going to take off his mask, put down his hat and throw away his sword. He walked out of the cave and eventually he saw lots of shops, rows and rows of shops, each selling different things. At last, he saw a cake through a shop window. He thought. So he entered the shop and said, I'm no longer the highway rat. Can I have a cake? For I rob the road no more. I have to work for the cake? Questioned the rat. And they say he still works in the cake shop, sweeping the cake shop floor. Tempted as he may be to steal, he continues to sweep the floors as families come in to purchase their cakes. And that's it. Thank you so much for watching, everybody.